So we're going to move on, and we're going to actually kind of build like a mini story here, well, very mini story, and we'll get to show how the actor and scenes layers work, and even the custom audio channels. So the first thing we're going to do is make the scene look cool, because as you've noticed, we're just looking at a blue screen right now. So we're going to click on the main camera. We're going to change this to black, because black looks cooler when we're fading things in and out. So what we'll do here is we're going to jump back to the first screen, this one right here, and we're going to go into the Actions tab. And if you guys are familiar with this, you can see that we have 5 new groups. In the old versions, this section right here was all there is in Actions, but now we have background layers, actor layers, the audio channels, and even token actions. And as we were just talking about tokens, what we could actually do here if we wanted to, we could actually set the tokens into certain variables. We can add a number or subtract a number from numeric tokens, and if we're actually setting them, we even have an option to localize them too. So for example, if we were setting the player name or an enemy name or something, we could call it Mr. Smith if it was English, and we could call it Mr. Chang if it was Chinese, you know, so whatever you wanted to do, those kind of things are possible. So yeah, that's pretty cool. So we'll remove that now, because we're not going to really cover this section of the token actions. I just thought I'd mention it while we were there. So if we go back to background, which is what we're dealing with right now, we want to make the background of the scene look pretty cool. So what we'll do is we're going to set up a background layer. Now layer 1, if we tick this, this is the first background layer out of the 10 that are available. So layer 1 is the one furthest at the back. So layer 2 will be on top of layer 1, layer 3 will be on top of layer 2, and so on and so forth. So what we'll do is we'll click on scenes, and here are our 2 scenes that we set up over in the library before. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on gradient. So that's going to be our first, furthest background. And it will say we can choose whether we want it to be stretch to fill, scale and crop, scale to fit. That just kind of means how we want this image to be scaled up. The display mode, we could either hide it or show it, which is kind of immediate. We want it to show up straight away, hide it straight away, or we can fade it in and fade it out. So we'll fade this in because it looks cooler. So if we just see what's gone on so far, we'll press play. And you can see the gradient kind of comes in, and then now it's asking us for our name. So that's cool. We're also going to jump over to the actors tab, which is, you can think of this as actors, and you can also think of this as kind of the foreground. And you can put things such as banners. So what I'm going to do in layer 10, because that's the one furthest in the front, I'm going to choose from the cast and choose the logo, the Localized Dialogs and Cutscenes logo. So if I say fade in, you can see we've got a few more options than we did in background, because we can actually set up animations and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. So we can also say how, the size of the icon, our position. So what we want to do for this is I'm going to put it in the top middle, so the top, and we're going to have, first of all, I'll show you what this looks like first. So if I click on play, you can see it just kind of fades in from up in the top, and that looks pretty cool. But what we can also do is have motion from the top. That means that it's going to kind of slide in downwards, starting from a position higher than where it started. So sounds a bit weird, but you'll see what I mean. So if I press play, you can see it started from the top and it moved downwards, so that's pretty cool. We can actually also apply an offset. So if we wanted it to be kind of, not right at the top, but maybe, 10 pixels away from the top or something like that, we could say play, and it would move down a little bit more. you know, so you can actually have fine-grained control over that. But I think that looked cool. We'll give it a value of 5, because that was fun. So we've actually set up a layer for a logo, which will always be in front of everything else right now. We've got a background that's furthest at the back, so that's fine. And the good thing about the background and actors layers are these are changes that affect the whole game. So well, in terms of the scene, it affects the whole scene. So if I've set this first layer to be the gradient, which I have done, unless I tell it to go away in a future screen, it's going to stay there. So basically, if I want to keep that, if I have 100 conversations going on here, 100 different dialogue screens, I don't have to keep, you know, going into background, clicking layer 1 and setting this up on every single screen. I only have to do it once, and when I'm ready to get rid of it, that's the only time where I have to say, okay, you know what, layer 1, let's get rid of it. Or what we could also do, which works the same on both the background and actors layers, you can quickly select fade out all layers, which means that all of the background layers will fade out and basically be reset on the next screen. So it's kind of like a, you know, wipe everything away type action. So that's pretty cool. So if we move on the second one, I'm going to, in the second background layer, so remember the first background layer was this one, the gradient. The second background layer, I'm going to choose the wasteland and have that fade in. So let's see what that looks like. If I press play, enter your name, play is fine for now, and I say enter, see the background is faded in, and it says, well, it looks like that text was running a bit quickly. So if I go to Dialog UI, I can actually show you that there's some pretty cool options. Because this is going to be more like a, I guess, kind of like a visual novel slash kind of comic looking thing. We can choose to ignore all dialogue duration. So I'll quickly explain what that is. If you go to the dialogue navigate tab, when you're in a next screen, or most of the screens have this, or many of the screens have this, there's a section called seconds to show. Now what this means is after 3 seconds it will automatically kind of navigate to whatever you've set it up to do. So in this case we've said this is the last screen, so after 3 seconds it closes it down and, you know, gets rid of the dialogue. But what this option does is it basically says, you know, ignore that. You know, we don't want to be using the, you know, the kind of automatic changing of slides. We need user interaction. So for every single screen, we're waiting for the user to say, you know, okay, I've read this, next. So that's what that does. There's actually quite a lot of cool options here. You can actually affect the durations of the fades, how quickly things fade in and out. So this value actually represents seconds. 0.75 is 3/4 of a second, and that's how long each fade duration is taking in the plugin. So if I was to change this to 2, it would become 2 seconds, which would be slower. 0.5 would be half a second, which would be faster. What I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to change ignore all dialogue duration. I'm going to actually enable that so that the user actually has to press a button to continue, and I'm going to change this to 1 second. So if I press play, let's see how that's changed. So you can see things are taking slightly longer to transition in and out. And if I leave this screen won't change unless I click next. If I click next, the screen ends. So let's go back to the dialogue screen and let's continue building up this mini story. Let's see what we've got. So we basically said hi player name, I'm going to tell you a very short story. So the next screen, we can minimize this. The next screen should be screen 3. Take off the last dialog tab, add the new screen. So we're going to continue this and we're going to say, I want to tell you about Captain Titus and what happened that day. My attempt of being dramatic right there. So what we'll do is we'll also go over to the Actions tab and go over to Actors, and what we'll do, we'll open up the other screens too. We can actually get them all to go to Actions by clicking on the Actions tab up here, and that makes every screen show the Actions tab. So if we click on Actors, we don't need that one. So basically that's just a reminder actually that the only Actors layer we're using is layer 10, so the last 9 are fine. So what we'll do, we'll go back over here and we're gonna put him in layer 2 just in case we want to put something behind him afterwards. So we're gonna say choose from the cast, we're gonna use this version of Captain Titus, the large version, and we're gonna fade in, we're gonna move in from the left and position him on the middle left. So the middle part of the screen on the left. So 100% is fine. So if we see what's going on here, we'll press play. Enter your name. My fake name today is going to be Mike. Say enter. Hi Mike. I'm going to tell you a very short story. I want to tell you about Captain Titus and what happened that day. And we also have the cool Space Marine image transitioning in from the left as I tell everybody that we're going to talk about Captain Titus. So that's pretty cool. So the next thing that we could do is have Captain Titus talking, similar to what we did in the tech demo. So we'll go over to this screen, we're going to add a new one. Actually, make sure that the next screen is going to be number 4. Add a new screen. So this is screen 4 down here. We can keep all of them open. Let's put them all in dialog view so that it kind of makes sense. So we'll change viewcast and have Captain Titus talking this time, and we'll say this is a very short version of the tech demo that I did, so we'll just say it was a difficult day, I had to choose a military strategy. So actually I'll say my brothers and I had to choose a military strategy. And what will have happen is in actions we'll have, if we remember that Titus was in layer 2, so what we're going to have him do is cast Titus, we're going to have him fade out, and we're going to have him fade out from the bottom, and his original position was middle left, so we can copy that. So let's just see what that looks like so far, just to make sure everything is right. We'll just leave it as player for now. I'll tell you a short story. I'll tell you about Captain Titus. It was a difficult day. My brothers and I had to choose a military strategy. So you could see then he actually faded out just then. You might be wondering why I'm doing that, and the reason why is because he said my brothers and I. So what I'm going to do on this screen is as he fades out, I'm going to bring the two other characters into the scene. So in layer 1, which is behind him, we're going to get the apothecary, Mr. Lysander over there, and we're going to fade him in to the same position, middle left, but he's going to come in from the left. So he's going to come in like this, Titus is going to go out downwards, and we're going to have Gaius come in, fading in. He's going to come in from the right into middle right. So let's have a look at what that looks like. So moving along, I'm going to tell you a very short story. I want to tell you about Captain Titus and what happened that day. It was a difficult day. My brothers and I had to choose a military strategy. So you can see the two characters have also come into. Looks pretty cool. So we're going to move on and we're going to actually show what those military strategies were. Similar to what we did in the tech demo.